Let's talk right now about that developing news story. If we do get any more updates, we will bring them to you. But the arrest in the early hours this morning of a 21-year-old man by Counter-terrorism police probing suspected arson attacks on the Prime Minister's family home in North London, a car belonging to the family in the same street, and also another property, a flat, also believed to be owned by the Starmer family. Very, very worrying for many, many MPs, and indeed the Starmer family, after it does appear that there was this arson attack and fire, a big bang heard by neighbours. And we've seen, of course, lots of pictures of the forensics police and officers pouring over the scene. But what is the latest on that? Let's talk to Chris Phillips. He's former head of the National Counter-terrorism Security Office. Very good morning to you, Chris.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you for joining us. I mean, look, this police investigation, early on, I think people thought, oh, it must have been a house fire, the Starmers aren't there. And then we understood there was counter-terrorism police involved in an arson probe, the development of an arrest. What do you make of that?
Well, these houses, you can't protect every house that Starmer owns or has owned or has lived in. Yeah. Clearly, these addresses were known, and the vehicle was an interesting one because it's obviously, I believe, one that's similar to one that Keir Starmer used to drive or did drive. So we have this issue of people knowing where MPs live.
Yeah. Of course, we had all that footage, didn't we, of Keir Starmer and his wife clapping outside during lockdown.
Yeah. And Jeremy Corbyn and everyone else, the press hook up outside people's houses, so they know where they live. So we cannot protect all these places. What's interesting is that this person clearly has got some disagreement or dislike of Keir Starmer, particularly to attack him. But it is a concern that members of the Parliament who should be able to go about their business sometimes feel threatened. And whilst we can do as much, and the police can do as much as they can to give them effective advice, there's no 100% security for any of these people.
And not the way that we do it. We don't have, like the Donald Trump level of security. I mean, again, talking with Tom Slater a bit earlier, MPs having their surgery sessions, on Fridays and Saturdays, meeting with local constituents. Now, many are advised you can't publicise these in advance. It has to be by appointment. People have to be vetted. You have to have somebody, a police officer with you in the room. After, of course, the horrific murder of David Amos and, of course, of Joe Cox some years back in 2016. I mean, it's just absolutely horrific. We're in that situation. In terms of likely motivation, I mean, goodness knows these days where motivation comes from. The obvious one, but everyone would leap to statistically, is, Islamists. Then, of course, and we'll say far right. It could be someone on the left, pro-Palestinian. We do not know yet. We don't even know if the man who's been arrested is indeed guilty of these crimes, hasn't been charged with these crimes, any crime so far. Of course, is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But there is such an issue with MPs generally and cabinet ministers, anyone prominent, facing these sorts of threats. And you say, look, we can't protect everyone. But we've seen cases, haven't we, with Rishi Sunak, his large constituency home up in Yorkshire when he was Prime Minister, and eco-activists being able to go and jump on the roof and put up banners and things. I think a lot of us do wonder that you don't have security there 24/7, so that when the PM and his family, whoever it is, do turn up, that they know they can be safe. I do worry that when we say we can't protect these people, we're not even doing the basics right.
Yeah, well, serving prime ministers, I totally agree with you, and I was surprised at that incident. But where we have here today or yesterday with this house that isn't even occupied by the Starmers, that's a different matter altogether. But it's interestingly, the last hour of your show has all been about the criminal justice system not being fit for purpose. I mean, it's as simple as that. We can't deal with Shamama Begum. We can't deal with terrorists coming back. And we certainly haven't got enough police officers to keep all of our MPs safe. This is something that we failed to invest in. I mean, I laugh, Julia. I see Theresa May walking around with an armed team of police officers, and she is the very person that took away all the police officers from our towns and villages. So it makes me laugh that MPs do expect to be protected, quite rightly, but we've so disrupted policing and criminal justice system that none of us can feel particularly safe.
No, that is the feeling I think a lot of us have. Can I go back to the conversation we just had with Mesa Gifford, actually, about the risk from these ISIS fighters returning? Look, you were the National Counter-terrorism Security Office boss, for goodness sake. How concerned are you and your former colleagues that there are people coming to these shores or coming back to our shores who are a clear and present danger to the public?
Well, they are, and there's no doubt about that. And there's also the unknowns, the people that we don't know about that have come specifically to commit crime or specifically to commit terror. And, you know, we've seen recently with these Iranians that have been arrested, there is no doubt we've got an awful lot of people in our country that are a real concern to us. And again, you know, we talk about this, and I'm, you know, right behind you on this from what you said, Julia. Begum should be here. But because of our criminal justice system, she can't be here, and it's a simple fact that we don't have the resources in the UK to protect our people.
Well, we do. No, we do. We're a very, very rich country. We do have the resources. We choose.
We have the resources, but we haven't deployed them.
Exactly.
And,
but those are two different things.
Today,
yeah.
Look at policing today, Julia. There are more police officers leaving than there are joining.
Yep.
We are building up for ourselves a big problem.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't have the security, the policing to deal with the problems.
Every copper I know. I went to, as I mentioned in the show a while back, I went to a friend's 50th who's a copper, and virtually everyone there was a copper, and every single one of them was just counting down the days, the weeks, the months, or the years until retirement, until they get their pension and leave, because they're so miserable in the job. That is not a good state of affairs. Chris Phillips, always so good to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time. Been great to get your expertise. Tom Slater, listening to that. I mean, again, big concerns for anyone's safety, Prime Minister or any MP. It is really, really important, is it not, that we have a situation where people can be democratically elected and not be living in fear for their and their families' lives. Full stop.
No, absolutely. This should be a bipartisan thing. This should be something that we recognise across the board, and we should take very seriously the new kinds of threats which are emerging against MPs, which, you know, whilst we shouldn't catastrophise, we shouldn't say that this is a unique problem to our time, it does become more enabled by social media, the ability to work out where someone lives. You see an image on the television of someone being doorstep, you can cross-reference that with Google Street View. There's all these different
done.
things.
Tell everyone how to do it.
No, exactly. So if anyone wants some more tips,
ask an 8-year-old, they'll be able to do it.
It's that sort of thing where there's just all these things are so much clearer now, and it requires us to think afresh about how we make sure that that's the thing. Protecting MPs from this kind of harassment and potentially violence is so important to just protecting the entire democratic process. We solve our differences.
But also, if we want people to be in touch, we want them to know what the price of we say, well, how much is the pint of milk, Prime Minister? Well, if they don't know, if they can't go to their local Tesco Metro because it's too dangerous and they might get threatened. So I mean, it's really important that if we want people to represent us, who live in the real world with us, they need to be allowed to move freely there, and certainly their families, absolutely. Well, the interesting thing is somebody who could work out where the Prime Minister's family home was also someone who would surely know he's not there. Again, of the risk to the people who were renting that property. I'm sure, though, of course, the Prime Minister had given it to some asylum seekers. I'm sure he had, rather than that. But anyway,